I filibustered to 9:16. It's my fault entirely. I thought that, I could get through opening kickoff at like 9:14 or something, but I found out the stuff involving our economic friend from Talk Sports, Stephen Borson, to discuss things. So that's opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. That's your QR code for those of you who are watching, however you are watching us this morning. Click on the QR code. You get to kick off your day. Don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. They in turn take 10%, reinvest it in youth games, youth initiatives from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. I hid the other QR code because I think I folded our sign from Alliance Nurse Corps back to something resembling flat so it won't fall down during the show. Our friends at Alliance Nurse Corps, over 30 years of experience trying to help you find your new career in nursing. You hit that QR code and they ask, how'd you find out about them? You sit there and you answer Soccer Down Here. So once again, thanks to our friends at Alliance Nurse Corps, great sponsors across the board with us, and our friends at Kickoff Coffee, who you get to start your day. And now that I believe Tyler has settled himself into his seat, seatbelts fastened and everything, tray table full upright in lock position. You gassed up and ready to go?
I'm ready.
All right. Do you want to work backward or do you want to work forward with ideas? Do you want to go back and have the retrospective and work forward into reports, or do you want to go reports and work backward? Take your pick.
I mean, we can go with working backwards. My initial thought was, well, the more we work backwards, the more sad I'm going to be by the end of the segment, but it's okay.
When are you ever sad leaving a segment here?
I'm not. It's not because of you. It's certainly not because of you.
Okay, just checking.
No, I love coming on.
We want to make sure that folks, when they come on, that they feel like they're at home, or that everything's fine. But we don't want you leaving like, droopy dog. We want you to leave like everything has turned sideways, and you're going to be going through the remainder of your day going, God, what did I just put myself through here?
Droopy dog is a reference I have not thought about in a long time, and I'm so glad you brought that up.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of folks that after what happened with Santos Laguna, and rightfully so, you had Droopy Dog, you had Yosemite Sam with the pistols ready to go. Yeah. I mean, you had the Tasmanian Devil. That's people.
Yep.
So you had a bunch of different cartoon emotions or cartoon applicable emotions after what happened and we mentioned this on Monday, the effort just wasn't good enough. Bottom line, not good enough. You got bounced, and Santos Laguna, who apparently has an allergy to winning in regulation since March, still has that allergy, but they advance and they go through to the round of 32 in Leagues Cup.
My cartoon reference would have been Eeyore.
True, understood.
I was just very, very disappointed. So yeah, no, I mean, we can dive into that one. It wasn't good enough. Wasn't good enough from Atlanta, and it's a team you should have beat 100%. And it's one of those teams where, I mean, Atlanta has the talent, right? Like, it's not like we're talking about a untalented team in Atlanta United. I understand, no DPs. I understand all those things. But Santos Laguna is an objectively bad team. And it hurts to say that now because the objectively bad team beat you in penalties. And now you're out of the tournament while they advance forward. And they shouldn't. They shouldn't. But Atlanta shouldn't either with the way that they played both of their games. Now, DC was it had many, many more bright spots. You had things that you could take out of that game that were positive.
The public drunkenness that was attached to the life.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a little bit of maybe illegal aspects of that game in terms of what you brought into the world and probably shouldn't have, but you did.
What made through the metal detectors? Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
The X-ray machine, you've got your back. Wait, it's like, what is that? Oh, I don't know. It's okay.
Yeah, just forget you saw anything. We'll keep on moving. But Atlanta forgot they saw anything by the time they got to the Santos Laguna match, and because they just didn't bring any of the momentum they had from the week before into this one, and it looked flat. It looked like the chemistry was just suddenly not there. The passes were off. It was just kind of an ugly soccer game.
Mm-hmm.
And it just wasn't good enough by Atlanta. And they deservedly didn't make it out of the group for the second year in a row. And now they've got some work to do before they get back to MLS play.
And part of that work, dealing with another 10 days in the in the transfer window.
Silly season.
Yes, well, and that's the beauty of it, is that it is silly. Oh, okay. So you're promoting your mug and your lid. I see how this works.
Thirsty.
Cup 2 or cup 1?
No, this is cup 1.
Wow. Okay.
I know, right?
So there were reports of Steven Bergwijn being discussed, interested, kicking the tires, all that kind of stuff. So Steven Bergwijn's name has surfaced this morning. Ajax is in a world of hurt right now as a franchise, but they see Steven as an asset. And I know that a lot of us who may not have our Steven Bergwijn book of knowledge with us might remember him from a frustrating time at Spurs, where it started out hot and then faded, and it did not end well. And so he's at Ajax. And so Ajax is like, yeah, okay, cool. Anybody that wants to come and park in the parking lot and walk in the front door can talk to us. And the reports are that right now, Atlanta is a part of those that are sitting at the table behind the glass doors. And you have folks wandering around looking at PowerPoint presentations and pointing at each other and all those kinds of things, passing them notes on the table. But the early returns are that Atlanta United's number of 10 million was basically Ajax took the piece of paper and shoved it right back to that half of the table. But interest in Steven Bergwijn is now being reported.
I think this is a good sign, right, for everybody that is looking for something to hold on to, because you can go through any player's history, right? And you'll find some times where they just didn't click with the team that they were a part of. And look, Spurs are going to Spurs, and his time there, it was up and down for sure. But that's also, his career there started literally when COVID started. So take that for what it's worth. And then it just kind of was weird from there. But he's done well at Ajax. He has put up, pretty significant numbers. So for everybody that's kind of looking for Atlanta United to do something with that $50 million, this is it's a good sign, right? It's kind of something to look at and hold on to and think, all right, well, they're I don't want to say shooting for the absolute stars. I mean, Steven Bergwijn's significant for sure. And I think any MLS team would be more than happy to take him on if they needed a left winger or striker. I mean, probably more a left winger. But then it also kind of makes you wonder, like, what is the future of that left winger spot if that's the kind of rumor that's coming out?
Well, but obviously the frustration that is attached to the lack of numbers, lack of statistics that are tied to Atlanta United putting the ball in the back of the net. I mean, that would be something where right now you look at the striker position and you've got depth at striker. And I mean that in the sense of you have Daniel Rios, who has punched above his weight, and you have Jamal when he's healthy, who can be incredibly streaky and very successful at it. And so right now with those two that are there at striker, you're like, okay, there's some clay that can be molded here. And we've seen that with Daniel Rios this season. But the left side now maybe takes a little bit more of that priority, where you've gotten Pedro Amador to help you out at the back for the Caleb Wiley absence. You've got Matthew Edwards, who's been putting in minutes now. You have Alexei Miranchuk, who is coming in the midfield and the attack. And so maybe the focus does shift. If you're happy with where you are with the folks that are punching above their weight, maybe you do go to the left-hand side and sit there and go, okay, let's see if we can find somebody. Are you taking the 50 million? Are you minusing the 15 from Miranchuk, or are you including Miranchuk in that 50 until he shows up? It's still 50.
No, yeah, I think I'm just using the overarching summer window number of 50 million, but okay. I mean, we'll knock it down to 35 and say, all right, cool. You still have 35 to play with.
Right.
Apparently.
Yes. Well, I mean, yes. So you end up with that number. And so Steven Bergwijn right now, it is Leicester, according to Mike Verwijn of the Telegraph. So get the chance to return if Leicester and Ajax can agree to 20. And this is the chase, the art of the chase. So if Atlanta was 15 million euro. So if Ajax can get 20 out of Leicester, that would be the direction that Ajax would be leaning. Atlanta United in the play at 15. So the other point that I was making yesterday on the show was, Atlanta United has never been a front office that sits there and negotiates within the world of public opinion.
Right.
And traditionally, we don't know anything about players until it hits this stage. You don't, you're not going into AutoZone and staring at the tires and just, kicking them in the lobby. No, you see the mechanics putting the tires on the car. That's what you see from Atlanta United in the front office. You don't see folks sitting there going, "Oh, okay, a 185 R20, 85 R20." I want the 235 25 R15. No. You're not looking at the tires. When they're putting the tires on the car, that's when Atlanta United traditionally has had names put out there in the community.
Yep.
Like, oh, okay, that's who they're chasing.
Yeah. And I think at this point, like I said, it kind of gives you an idea of, and to your point, maybe where that focus has kind of shifted.
Yeah.
Because I think maybe when the Giakoumakis news first started happening, right, you were kind of wondering, and it just made sense that naturally you have to get another number 9. And I will still contend that I think you've still got to find, maybe it's because I'm a spoiled Atlanta United fan, but I think you've got to find somebody that's of that Giakoumakis and Joseph caliber that's going to put the ball in the back of the net when they get the chances, because Daniel Rios has been doing great. He really has. Numerically, like, you can't really complain. And then Jamal Tiare, when he's healthy, he's providing something that nobody else on the team offers. And if he could just, he has 1 or 2 moments every match that he plays where it's just a step. I mean, he had the one in the Santos Laguna match where he got behind the goalkeeper and just couldn't quite get to the ball to poke it in.
Yeah.
So the building blocks are there. The fundamentals are there. Everything you need, minus maybe just that all-star, goal scoring ability, is there. However, getting nothing out of your left wing right now. And that's unfortunate, because you see Sean De Silva putting forward the effort. It's just not really coming off. And it's been like that, unfortunately, most of the year. So, yeah, I mean, if you're at the point where the tires are going on the car and you're kind of getting this news, then you have to look at the front office and say, well, how much are you really willing to pay for the extra service that maybe you're getting with these tires?
Yes, exactly. Yes, one more time. Yes.
However,
when you and that's the thing. It's chasing, and this is one of the elements of a transfer window. It is chasing after a guy versus chasing after the guy. And if you're chasing after a guy, you don't want to burn that hole in your pocket on a guy. If the guy is available, and I mean capital T, capital G, top of your list, he's on the dry erase board over in the corner, and whoever it is, 1, the guy. If the guy is there, then the question becomes, all right, with the 35, say, if everything is applied to the number, and like I said, if the Barco number is what it is, and maybe you end up getting somebody off of Rivers' roster instead because of how things are financially with the certain country right now. Maybe Borja. Just saying. Just
maybe.
I'm just thinking out loud. That has no bearing on anything. But once again, if the numbers are what they are, and you max out at, say, 35, and Bergwijn or someone like that is capital T, capital G, as Jarrett now joins us. Jarrett, we're discussing having, say, 35 million in your pocket and chasing after a guy versus chasing after the guy. And if capital T, capital G, the guy is there, then that's what transfer windows are for. These are the decisions where front offices make their hay.
With the rumor out of Ajax.
Yes.
Okay.
We were discussing Bergwijn possibly as capital T, capital G, the guy or a guy. That's where we were.
If he's the guy, go spend the money. If you got other options, go shopping. But this is the thing. I think we heard Garth Lagerwey mention it on one of the pregame shows. I believe it was the St. Louis one. That there is Atlanta is unique for him in that he has more money to spend here than he ever had at RSL or he ever had at Seattle.
Yeah,
you can, and you just made a bunch of transfers, which I do. One of my hopes is that we see a pretty sizable shift in the way transfer money is handled going forward within MLS. Because if you're going to bring in, and not everyone's going to bring in 40 to 50 million every window, but it would be great if teams that do that, especially as homegrowns are becoming more profitable to sell overseas, and as they make their dreams known and their potential moves, that you be able to profit more from it. Allow them to go absolutely ball the hell out, and if this is the move for you, then go ball the hell out for it. We'll see. I mean, it sounds like there is actual smoke to it. 15 got shot down, but I don't know, Tyler, what are you comfortable with in terms of an amount here? How high are you willing to go?
I mean, you do have the luxury, right, of that extra little bit of money that no other MLS team has really ever had before. However, again, however, that's still a lot of money. That is still a lot of money. And yeah, I mean, as far as there being smoke to it, absolutely. There's definitely, I think there's definitely some interest, right? There's definitely been some, you're not going to get a report like that without there being interest.
Yeah.
Are you queuing up the however? I didn't know if I needed to strategically pause.
No. Hey, all you got to do is call for it.
But no, I do. You need production on that side, right? You also need somebody that's going to want to be here. And if you're looking at the way Garth kind of presents himself and the way he has presented himself, both at Seattle and since he's been here, he said he wants to build, long term. Giakoumakis kind of threw a wrench in that. So whatever. But if you could lock down a guy like Bergwijn and he's happy here, wants to be here, and you have $35 million kind of sitting there, I don't think you should be off put by 5 or 6 million, because I do think he could come to MLS and do very well. I don't want to say tear it up, because it's always a roll of the dice when you're coming to a new league. Mm-hmm. But I mean, he's done well over the past few years. And I just think you've got to, at some point, you've got to shoot somewhat big, right? We talked about that before you got on, Jarrett, but it is nice to see that they're going for, not just a big name to be a big name, but a guy that probably fits maybe what they're trying to do here, in the sense that they don't have production coming out of the left wing, and this guy will give you that for sure. So
and can play up top if you need to as well.
Mm-hmm. What's that?
It gives you flexibility. He can play up top if you need him to as well. Yeah, man, it's I'm glad you mentioned it, Tyler, and I think you hit on it. You want guys who want to be here, want to be part of the project. Really felt like at the end of it, and on his way out the door to Cruz Azul, that Giakoumakis didn't want to be here.
Yeah,
he had made up his mind. And if you don't want to be here, fine.
Bye.
We'll pack your bags. We'll take you over to Garrett or Hartsfield. Mm-hmm. Throw you on a plane. Hell, man, we'll give you a stipend. You can go to the good Popeyes in the airport for all I care.
Yeah,
go to duty free and have fun.
Get your $25 piece of chicken.
Yeah, man. Hell, man, we'll find you a Sparrow if you really want it. If you want to go full America. But yeah, and I'm glad you hit on it though, because it's guys you want that want to be here. But this is the kind of he fits for me the archetype that you are looking for with that big spend. If I'm going to spend that kind of money, then I want somebody who checks those boxes. attacking player, generally left side, can play up top if you need to. 26-year-old, plays for his national team, has played in big places before. I believe he made $4 million a year at Spurs.
Yeah.
So you would be giving him a sizable raise, but he fits the age and profile that I want to be looking for. So, like, if 15 is below what you maybe expected to pay, fine. And that's not that.
But are you going to go into the glass conference room with a closed door with your top figure? I mean,
no.
That's the thing. It's like you go in. It's like
this is negotiations. This is the thing that pisses me off to no end. Because we had this about Maranchuk. We had this with the Giacomakis thing as well. Look, man, there's a sucker born every day, but this whole idea of everybody overreacting on social media to the first number that comes across the board and deciding that is gospel just pisses me off, man. Because like you're gonna throw a low number. Cruz Azul threw a low number at you. The first number that comes across, if you're going to be insulted by it, I hope to God that you were never involved in negotiations of things.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna try it. You won't try and snow somebody.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna try and snow you. You are gonna try and snow them. You're gonna come to the table and you're gonna find a number. I guess my thing is, if you go get him and you ball out for him, cool. I hope he does well. If you don't, I hope it is someone in that same profile, like mid-20s, big producer, big name, probably going to be national team or national team adjacent, but that's the kind of guy. I'm glad they're shopping in this aisle, if that makes sense. I know that's kind of a generalized statement, but if you're shopping in this aisle, good.
All right. Pause. News from up I-85.
Oh.
Tim Ream official to Charlotte.
Okay, I have questions about this.
Sure.
I like Tim Ream a lot, first of all. I think, let me get all the good things out of the way first.
Go for it.
I like Tim Ream. Tim Ream's been really good for, 36 years old?
Yes.
Outstanding for the national team. Outstanding in Europe. Charlotte has done what I thought they would, and that they've gotten better and better as the season goes along. Dino's done a really good job. That defense is real damn good already.
Well, when you got Christian Kalina helping to bail you out.
Well, but not even just that. Like, as it's gone on, they've solidified defensively.
Malanda and the like, yes.
Where's the 10? Charlotte. Where's the 10?
Oh no, we can't do that. No.
I feel like they're very slowly morphing into Nashville 2.0. Like, like, I know that might offend some people that maybe aren't watching the show, but that's okay. I mean, you got a defense that, it's going to stand up. You got Tim Ream back there, and he's going to do his thing, but you're going to have, at some point, they're going to sign that one guy that's going to be up top, and he's going to have to put the entire goal scoring apparatus on his shoulders. And it might work for a while, but I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it's sustainable. That being said, they've been much better this season overall, and they're higher than Atlanta right now, so I don't have room to talk.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, they've done what I thought they should have done this year, which is to go defensive, and they kind of did the Frank de Boer thing of, like, we're gonna solidify this defense, then we'll work on the offensive side of things, and it got Frank torches and pitchforks in this town. I'm glad that Dino's getting more support over there.
Contract through 2026 with an option for 27.
It's fine. It'll be 38, I think, at that point.
38, if not 39, if the option gets kicked in. Charlotte puts out a release. Tim Ream has a couple of statements, a couple of sentences that add to a paragraph. Ream eligible for selection for the club's next match against Red Bulls on the 24th. Z-Man, GM Zorn Cornetta, quote, Tim's been a rock at the back for Fulham for the last decade, proven himself as one of the best central defenders the United States has ever produced. Premier League and World Cup credentials speak for themselves, and he's been ever present in big moments for club and country. Comes to us in good form and upgrades an already excellent defense, as Jared said. As we prepare for the final stretch of the season to qualify for the playoffs, Tim is the type of player who is hungry for trophies, and he can help us push for our first one. He's a leader on the pitch and in the locker room, being an invaluable mentor to our younger players. Signing an established U.S. men's national team player is a major milestone for our club, and we're delighted to welcome Tim to Charlotte FC, end quote. Last 9 seasons with Fulham, 312 appearances, secured promotion on 3 occasions, 33 Premier League appearances in 22-23, finished top half of the English top flight first time in a decade. Stats, promo photo. Began his MLS career with Red Bulls after being selected 18th overall in 2010, 65 appearances for Red Bulls before securing a move to Bolton Wanderers. So official through 26, option for 27. And I know that folks in Charlotte are probably trying to keep their head down and hoping that this does not turn into Christian Fuchs 2.0.
No, I don't think so. Especially the way they play and kind of like in the same sense of like Frank de Boer's system back in the day.
Yes.
Protected guys like Michael Parkhurst, whose legs were not what they used to be, but whose brain was one of the best soccer brains we ever saw on the field in MLS.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Dino protects a guy like Ream because of the way they play. Like, he's not going to be asked in most situations to be like playing suicidally up the field and having to sprint back and defend 1v1s at a full canter. He's just not going to be living that life. He'll be fine, I think. Like, that's fine. The move's fine. I just like, where's the 10?
Yeah.
And where's your Mukhtar?
Where's
yeah, exactly.
Where's your Mukhtar?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got to bring him in at some point.
Yeah.
But they brought Shpedersky.
Dude, how much would Nashville love to have Patrick Ajimong, though? Like, Sam Sturridge scored the other night for Nashville in their League Cup match.
He did what?
He scored the other night for them. But
did
like, man,
what?
Patrick Ajimong is like the dude that Nashville needed for years.
Mm-hmm. Capital T, capital D. Ajimong is the dude. Okay, so that broke, so I wanted to put that and insert that into the show. So, okay, couple questions. Let me put the bookmark back into Atlanta United. I'm pulling the bookmark back out. Emilio with a question. Do you have any confidence that any winger outside Saba can be successful here under the current staff?
Yeah, because I think, you know, what Jarrett said, you're shopping in the right aisle, and the right aisle is a guy who can come in and, along with Renchuk, you're going to kind of, and I know Rob is pragmatic. There's the word again. Pragmatic.
But you mean that in a different context than what folks naturally assume.
Yeah, I guess I've always looked at pragmatic as a positive thing, but maybe it's because I look at it in soccer terms of where I'm always fighting against coaches that aren't flexible.
Yeah.
And so, like, to me, it's a positive thing. I mean it positively, absolutely. Like, I think nowadays, especially, you have to go into soccer matches. Like, you can't just have one size fits all. You have to go in and play the team in front of you. And sometimes the team in front of you is the Red Bulls, and sometimes the team in front of you is, you know, Wooden Spoon Cincinnati.
Oof.
And you can't play them the same way. You shouldn't play them the same way. If you do, you might win both games, or you might win one amazingly and get torched in the other one.
So what you're saying is you can't do this.
No.
You
Not
can't,
at all.
You can't go there. Okay.
No, never. You can't rush in and then go eat your chicken afterwards. But no, like, pragmatic, I think it's just you've got to I don't know. I was going somewhere with it. I had a point I was going to make.
Well, the difference of being pragmatic in the connotation that a lot of us have when it comes to being pragmatic and taking game state for what it is and adjusting appropriately, instead of pragmatic being Philadelphia-ish negative, Red Bullsian negative. I don't want the ball. It's got cooties. I'm going to launch it long and have you do all the work. There's a difference in negative pragmatism and the pragmatism that you have first and foremost when it comes to your interpretation of the word.
Yeah. A guy like Bergwijn is going to come in, like I said, and Moranchuk, they're going to, I think, by default, kind of have the team mold to what it is they're trying to do, right? I'm not saying take the team over and completely redistribute the ideas and the identity. That's not what I mean. But I think if you get guys like them, you're going to naturally play to their strengths. And their strengths are, one's a very strong winger and can play up top. And the other one is, from everything we've seen, a very much playmaker, attacking midfielder with a bomb left foot. And so you have to be pragmatic, play to those strengths. And so I don't think it's a matter of just, taking this triangular block and putting it in the triangular hole here and saying, all right, well, we got a winger that is going to go do winger things. You're going to have a winger who's dynamic and do what he needs to do to be successful, which is play smart football and adapt to the guys around him, and have the guys around him, specifically Rios, Pedro behind him, adapt to kind of what it is he's trying to do. And so I know that's like a very long-winded way of describing it, but I don't think
we got a 2-hour show, dude. Come on.
A plus B equals C type deal.
Yeah. So then, Jarrett, the other question that Emilio has, if you end up getting Bergwijn or a Bergwijn-ish type individual with the money that you have on hand, would there be money for a prime striker?
Yeah, I don't think money's an issue here. You made almost $50 million in the window. Right. You spent, what, 13 to 15 million on one of them.
Yeah.
Let's say, let's pretend like we are Monopoly and we have to make sure we put break even. Let's say you go and spend 20 million on somebody else. That's 35 million. That still leaves you 10 to 15 million to play with for a striker in the offseason, or a left winger in the offseason, depending on how you played this. You have money to burn. That doesn't include U22 spots that you might want to use down the road, as you might have at least 1, 2, or 3 of those open for next year. God only knows. You'll have money to burn. You will be able to spend 8 figures on 2 other guys if you want to, and by God, I think you should want to, because if you are going to be not necessarily just investing in guys to turn over like you've done with Almada, like you did with Amidon, and you want guys to be here for the long haul in their prime, then yeah, when you make that investment, with the idea that guy will be here for 5 years, give or take, maybe more. And you'd love to have those sort of situations of guys who are wanting to stay and be part of the project, but they got to want to be here. And you got to be okay with figuring out salary, and so you don't run into any weird situations. But that a lot of times takes 2 people coming to the table and being adults about it.
Now, the number that came with the Giacomakis deal inbound, if I'm not mistaken, it was £4.33 million to bring in, so a little over $5 million. So I think that as we workshop this, you can find the quality striker, and you don't have to burn. Let's just say, like I said, with math, 50 minus 15 gives you 35. Miranchuk in. Let's say you find a winger for 20. That leaves you 15. You found Giacomakis for 5. So I think that finding a quality striker, you're not going to need to spend that entire 15. I think that you could have spent more bringing in a Miranchuk at 15 and a winger for 15-ish. You can find a quality striker to fit what you want to do. Atlanta United did that by dropping only 5 to bring in Giacomakis in the first place. So I think that finding the winger is where you might end up having to spend more money. When you got your attacking mid for 15, you might have to spend the same amount on the wing. You can get that striker that you're hunting for that fits, Tyler, for that less than 15 figure, if that's the number that you want to deal with being left over.
Yeah, and 2 things, I guess, kind of come to mind. One, a winger or an attacking midfielder, whatever, one of those guys, they're naturally, if they are what they are claimed to be, they're going to typically make the guys around them better, right? A striker, it is a little tougher for a striker, not impossible, but a little tougher for a striker to be the guy that makes those around him better, because he has to be the one getting the ball. And if he's not the one getting the ball, then he has to go do a whole lot of extracurricular activities to get the ball, and then he becomes less effective. As opposed to a guy providing service, right? Like we saw it with Almada. We hope we see it with Moranchuk. And then obviously if Bergwijn is another one. They're going to be the ones putting the ball into Rios. They're going to be the ones putting the ball into Jamal Tiare. And that admittedly has been part of the problem, is that the service that they're getting hasn't always been the best. They can both finish. Are they the best finishers in the world? No, they're not. But like, I think with a little bit more refinement on the ball that's being played into them, I think their numbers would probably be much higher than they already are. So you've got to go, I think, and yeah, the bigger money has to go after the guys that are going to provide you a little bit more of the playmaking ability, because it's, to your point, it's been proven that you can find the goal scorers, right? You just have to trust your analytics, and you have to go after maybe a little bit of the hidden gem. Not that Yakimakis is necessarily hidden.
And then you had Joseph, who
right out of nowhere.
So those examples are there about finding a guy who ends up eventually turning into the guy, capital T, capital G, up top as your striker.
Yeah. And then the other thing too is, like, we keep throwing around the $50 million number, but $50 million is not what Atlanta is limited to. $50 million, you should be able to, if you are a good steward of the money, you should be able to turn a lot of this team around with $50 million. However, you beat me to it. However,
yes. Wait, hang on.
However,
there you go. Thank you.
You aren't stuck at just spending 50 million. The club has money. Like, it's not that they're just stuck with the 50 million and that's all that they can spend. Like, they have money and that they've
got only 50 million to spend.
They could go after. I know, right? Like, it's such a first world problem. So that's not your budget. Like, if you were to find, like you said, capital T, capital G, like the guy, and for whatever reason, the money that you have wasn't quite enough out of that 50 million to make it happen.
Right.
I'm sure Arthur Blank is not going to have a problem with reaching into his pockets a little bit to pull out a little bit more and say, all right, cool. If he's going to be the guy that's going to change things up, absolutely, here it is.
Well, so, and there's also news involving the Blank family and Atlanta United that we'll get into as well later on. There's been some adding of titles to business cards involving the Atlanta United family and the Blanks. David, you can have $3 million a GAM from Wiley. You can spend the highest non-DP salary on each. What is that transfer number? 1.3 million salary on a free without no transfer and a question mark. David couldn't recall the directions the rules have moved. DP winnings and positive net transfer was or is not convertible to GAM, so some of the money might only be usable on DPs. Okay, I went to look. Go for it, Jared.
So the gist of how this could work in this offseason is, and I think Garth touched on this in a pregame thing as well, so for every time someone complains that Garth doesn't talk, go listen to the pregame show, because he generally goes on there and spreads some gospel.
Yes.
So the way Atlanta built the contracts with a number of their TAM guys, they front or backloaded them accordingly to create space. So you had Sabas that was front loaded. He was a DP. He's not a DP anymore because you front loaded it with the transfer costs. Stian Gregersson's was kind of mid loaded. So that's why Stian is technically a DP this year, because you didn't bother buying him down. But after the season, you'll have basically paid the transfer cost, and then he goes to a TAM player.
Right.
And next year, Bartosz Lisz would have been a DP because you backloaded his contract with his transfer cost. But with the money that you get from Wiley and the fact that it's $3 million now, and MLS finally got off their ass and wised up and started giving clubs more money who are trying to develop players and sell them on and grow the product. Because of the way that worked, you can take that $3 million and apply it to Bartosz Lisz and then buy him down in the offseason if you want to, going into next year, and that frees up another DP spot. I don't know if that answers the general question, but that's generally how that $3 million could get spread around, is that because you front, mid, and backloaded contracts in a unique way, that $3 million allows you to buy out the backload on Bartosz Lisz. So he would not be a DP, which means that you have two DP slots. Well, one DP slot open now that Moranchuk is official.
Right.
You have one DP slot open. You would have another one open up going into 2025. Now, however you want to shop in the winter window is between you and God. Carry on.
Yeah. The rules Clubs can now convert up to $3 million of total transfer revenues received into GAM without restriction on the amount from any individual player transfer. Under previous rules, clubs could only convert up to $1.2 million plus another 15,000 or so. Second model, once again, you can take with your roster construction, and it starts with this window. You can do it one of two ways. You can go, since you have 6, what Major League Soccer is referring to as prime roster spots, and yes, I'm using air quotes. What you can do is one of two things. You can either go 3 DPs and 3 U22s, or 2 DPs and 4 U22s, and then get $2 million added in GAM to that. So that's the choice that you have with that. The increased GAM, once again, as Jarrett said, can buy down a player's salary budget charge. You can sign new players, re-sign existing players, or offset acquisition costs. In 24, clubs that elect to do the 2+4 instead of the 3+3 can introduce up to $1 million in added GAM due to the midseason implementation. So if you choose to go 2 DPs and 4 U22s, you get another $1 million in GAM if you want to go that way. Then the DP rule and the U22s, once again, you've got 6 roster spots. You can sign up to 3 DPs. You can exceed the maximum salary budget charge. And the DP rule was established back in 2007, the Beckham rule, basically. So you have choices as to how you want to apply this. And if you want to go 2+4, you get another $1 million in addition to the 2 or 1.8 that the league gave you now to add to everything here. So at least the league is walking itself forward to help out those that want to invest in themselves and giving options as to how you want to build, Tyler, as we're going here.
And it kind of like it'll change rapidly in terms of what each club does, right? Because you're in the summer transfer window, and right now, I mean, it may not make sense for you to, like, if Atlanta, for example, were to go out and for whatever reason only get Moranchuk during this transfer window, it makes no sense to settle for the rest of the year for the 3 DPs because you don't have 3, you have 2. So you can assign the 4th U22 or whatever you have to do there, even if you don't actually assign it, but you have it, but then you get that extra $1 million in GAM. So, but then in the wintertime, then you reevaluate and you go into 2025 and you make that decision, which I imagine, knowing Garth and his philosophy, is probably going to be 3 DPs, 3 U22s, spend the U22 spots on low risk, potentially high reward guys, but get the DPs as that aisle Jarrett talked about shopping in. You want those guys here for the long term, and build the team around those 3, and then hope that the 3 that you get for U22s can be guys that can be giving you significant minutes, even if they're not always starting. But when they come on, they give you something, and maybe they can work towards it, because the U22s as well, that's an investment, right? Like Edwin Mosquera, if you can continue to develop him, he's on a 4-year contract. He could potentially be a guy that gets transferred out, and it may be a smart business decision in the long run. But that's kind of how I look at it. I don't know. That's how Garth looks at it. That's my football manager kind of mindset. But that's kind of how I see at least the short term going for Atlanta.
So this 45 minutes went by in a hurry. I looked at the clock and I'm like, man, we've already hit hour number 2.
Because we're having fun.
Well, yeah, that's what we always try to do here on the show, and we try to inform, have fun, elucidate, elaborate, and have fun, and all that kind of stuff. So what's going on with Scarves and Spikes? What's the latest?
Well, your good friend Jason will be on tonight.
So I've heard. Yes, I've heard of
chatting.
Him. Yeah.
We need y'all. I know, like, we just kind of go through, but y'all are gonna have to make a trip to the nighttime show.
It's doable.
Come hop on and have some fun with us.
I mean, all you got to do is go. That's all you got to do. All you got to do is basically, seriously. I mean, look, you know me. As long as the boss sits there and it's like, no, we got nothing going on. Penny,
Sheldon.
I mean, that's all you got to do.
Yeah,
that's all you got to do. We'll have fun and we'll chop it up, and we'll try to sit there and I'll try to make as the least amount of sense as humanly possible when it comes.
Good, because by that time it's whatever after dark, and you
Yes.
can make as little sense as you want to. So, no, we'll make that happen for sure. But no, tonight it'll be us, Jason. We're just going over Atlanta, chopping it up, figuring out everything else with what Atlanta can do in the next 3 weeks while they're off, and yeah, we'll have a couple of articles coming out over on scarvesandspikes.com.
Okay, so Scarves and Spikes, and if they want to buy the lid, they want to buy the mug, where do they go? Website?
Yep, scarvesandspikes.com. That's the easiest way. You just click on the little shop link.
The little shop of horrors.
Yep.
Where you can buy all that stuff. As always, my friend, it's great to come and have you come and chop it up with us on Wednesdays, where sometimes we talk soccer for the full 45 minutes, and then other times we come up with deep analogies that only some of us can get, and the others have to go to Google searches and find out, because I'm not as hip as you or Jared. So be safe, my friend, and have fun with that guy named Jason, and we will catch up with you on the flip side.
All right, sounds good. See you.
There goes Tyler.